everybody, and welcome to Heidi Inspired Radio, helping you to live a more confident life. And the purpose of Heidi Inspired Radio is to bring to you different topics, different subjects that I see women struggling with on a regular basis to support you both personally and professionally. And with that said, I'm very excited about our topic tonight. And our topic tonight, yes, in the middle of the end of October, is going to be about love. Now, here's a couple questions for you. Are you out there right now as a single woman saying, I'm never going to find the one, and you get tired of dating, so you're isolating, you're staying at home, you've given up on love? Or maybe you've gone through a divorce and you're healing your broken heart, and you might just feel bitter or feel like, you know what, I've just given up. There's just no hope for me. Or you've been married for a while and you're like, where did my mojo go? What's going on? We're getting bored. Tonight's topic about love is all about giving you hope that you can have the love that you desire. And how do I know? Because I've experienced it. So here's what's going to be going on in our show tonight. First of all, it happens to be our 14-year wedding anniversary. And yes, we're spending it with you because I feel so strongly in sharing my story of finding love for the first time after 40 that I want to share those tidbits with you. So the guy from Erie, my husband Phil Kerner, will be joining us a little bit later. He's going to be one of our special guests today. I'm going to be sharing with you my story and my struggle and what I went through to, as I like to say, manifest my man. And then we have expert calling in from Los Angeles, California, the love designer, Renee Piane. And Renee is a fabulous speaker, international TV hostess, author of 2 books, and a good friend of mine. So she has so many fun tidbits to be sharing with you. So I just want to start a little bit with a background. I was living in Los Angeles in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and I couldn't find love. I couldn't find love. I took all the workshops and how to get, as we call it, get in my feminine energy. And I dated, and I had some relationships here and there, but I'm like, where is the one? Where is the guy? Where is my man? It was so deep inside of me that I wanted to get married, but I was so frustrated that I couldn't find the one. And the reality is, living in Los Angeles, if you're like over 29 years old and not blonde, you can really give up easily. So I knew that some of that was because of me and the fears that I had, some of the blocks that I had. So I really went on a personal growth journey to fall in love with myself, to increase my self-esteem. So I took classes, I had my apartment feng shuied, I took movement dance classes, I took the art of exotic dancing for everyday women, just to get in touch with myself, to just feel more beautiful from the inside out, to look at myself in the mirror, to do affirmations. But still, I was struggling. So actually what happened, and I had been in therapy before, and some of you might think therapy. I love being in therapy. To me, it's like a vitamin. It's a wonderful, it's like they might say an expensive friend, but to have somebody to really support you and hear you and validate you on your journey, I truly believe is a gift. And I'll never forget calling my brother, David, who's a psychologist, and I said, I just can't find these guys out here. Maybe I need to move out of LA. That will be the answer to a geographic. And he mentioned to me, he said, Heidi, you've been in therapy before. I said, of course. He said, have you ever been in therapy with a male therapist? And all of a sudden, all this anxiety came up for me. I'm like, no. He's like, that's what you need to do. You need to work through your issues with a male therapist. And that kind of freaked me out at the time. But I took his advice. And I called somebody that had been recommended, a psychologist. And I remember getting on the phone with him and saying, this is my last effort. I'm giving up on love. I've done all my personal growth work. And he said to me, Heidi, you're going to find your guy. And I'm like, how do you know? This is over the phone before I met him. He goes, because your desire is so strong. Your desire is so strong. And that's what I did, is I took a deep breath and I said, okay, let's go for it. And I worked with him, overcame some of my barriers, and 3 months later, I found my guy. But how did that happen? Again, I'm living in Los Angeles. Where did this guy come from? Well, I would go back to Erie, Pennsylvania, once or twice a year to visit my mom, my sister, my dad at the time. And I always came back for my high school reunions because I loved my high school. I had a great time in high school. And I always made it a point to come back and see my high school friends. So you can do the math. I came back for my 25th high school reunion, and that's where I met Phil. Now, we went to high school together, but we didn't know each other in high school. So that was very interesting. And we met, what they call it, the pre-reunion, and nobody knew him in high school. And I'll let you tell, when he gets on, he'll tell you a little bit about that story. But that's where the magic happened. And a year later, he whisked me back to Erie, Pennsylvania, and 14 years ago, the happiest day of my life, we got married. So there's other nuggets within that I want to share with you, and I'm going to have the guy from Erie get on the call and tell you a little bit about his perspective. You know, I watched my 5 younger brothers and sisters get married, and to go to all their weddings, never have a date, I really thought it's never going to happen for me. And at age 44, I got married. So if you have a desire, there's hope for you. And Renee, later on in the show, will be giving you some tips and some inspiration for, again, if you're single, healing from a broken heart, or in a marriage and just want to bring more love to your life. So with that said, we're going to have a commercial. In the meantime, please chime in on social media. Tell us where you're listening from. And also, if you have any questions for the love designer coming up on finding true love for you. So we'll see you back in just a minute. Are you struggling to get new clients? Excited about your business, yet feel stuck as to what direction you need to take next? Are you one of those people who are afraid to pick up that phone or ask for that sale? Or maybe you know you need to be doing some networking or public speaking, but you're just not doing it? You're not alone. As a marketing consultant, former psychotherapist, certified professional career coach, and seminar leader, I have been empowering women for over 30 years and helping them build their successful business. I offer the tools, support, and accountability, which helps my clients create a positive professional image with the confidence they need to take their business to the next level. If you're interested in becoming more confident in your business, increasing your client base, please like us on Facebook, Heidi Inspired. Develop your ability to go higher.
Interesting to see if anybody knows who the artist is. Oh. If somebody can guess that on the feed tonight, I'll let them be my Facebook friend.
Oh, I was going to say, what are we going to give them for a prize? That's a good one.
Well, yeah.
So yes, who knows?
That'll give me 3.
That's it.
All right.
You have my friends. That's okay. So you're going to be joining us, right? Are we going to get to see your face?
Am I coming over?
Yes, come on over so we can see my handsome husband that I manifested.
All right, squeezing
14 years
around
ago.
here.
Yes,
Around the
in
wires.
here, darling.
Around the wires and everything else here.
And you have a couple little photos we're going to show. So this is really fun, and we love actually doing the Heidi and Phil show, in case you can't tell. Back to meeting Phil at my high school reunion, I want to tell a little side story. Is we were at the Plymouth restaurant, which was the pre-reunion. And in Erie, they kind of have a pre-reunion. Everyone's just at the bar. You don't know who you went to high school with or not. And then they announced, everybody from McDowell, go upstairs so you can all connect. So this one over here says, hi, I went to McDowell High School, and I didn't recognize him at all. I'm like, I don't know you. And then I started parading him around to my girlfriend saying, do you know this guy? And everyone's like, no. So I think he's just some guy chatting me up in the bar. However, why don't you take it from here, darling?
Well, that night I went down there. I almost didn't go. But I walked into Plymouth, and luckily I ran into a gal from high school that still lives in Erie who recognized me. A couple of them, Kim and Beth. And finally,
they like shout-outs. Thanks, Kim Keller and Beth Weiss.
That's exactly right. And they vouched for me that I did go to McDowell. Heidi and I just never traveled in the same circles. I was in all the cool groups, and Heidi was a nerd, so we just never ran into each other.
So let's switch that. So there's nothing wrong with bowling, but we do believe that...
I've got high school pictures to prove it.
Okay, so you want to show a picture?
Let's see here. I've got a couple of them here. This one's kind of small because that's as big as I can make it without getting fuzzy. Those are the tiny little pictures from the yearbook. But
we'll show them the cover of the magazine then, too.
Well, you got to set that up.
So Phil is a self-proclaimed geek in high school. So by the way, gals, they always make the best husbands. But that's why nobody in my circle sort of knew who he was. However, obviously, and seeing him even 14 years later, he was the silver fox. All the women are like, who's that guy? Who's that guy? Who obviously transformed to somebody very handsome. But that night, I remember when I realized you did go to McDowell and we're chatting away. And I could even tell in your language a little bit some of the things that you're saying. I'm like, you've been in therapy before, I could tell, which of course I liked because he's done his personal growth work.
My therapist is on my speed dial.
She's on our speed dial now, which is actually a good nugget to keep your marriage happening and alive. So tell everybody a little bit about your perspective of our love story and any nuggets that you want to share in keeping our marriage juicy for 14 years, and anything about to the women out there especially who are looking for a relationship, for looking for their love.
Well, I'm usually not too shy about giving my opinions. So
yes.
We're good with that, right?
Yes.
Heidi, as I always like to say, she's got a lot of hooks, right? First of all, beautiful face, very pretty, and then beautiful eyes. Okay, so I'm going in now, and then I hear the beautiful voice, and then I see the education and everything. So, pretty good package for the guy from Erie. And I can tell you, since that night back in July 18th, 2003. 15 and a half years ago
when we met,
we've never missed a day where we didn't speak on the phone if one of us was out of town. Not one day ever. So when you see something you want, I think sometimes the guys, you got to go for it. You just got to go for it. And it was a great night. We met, and whirlwind courtship from LA to Erie to LA. We were visiting each other.
But even before that, so I want to share, so I was home from Los Angeles for a couple of weeks, and then it was time for me to go back, and we had a wonderful couple weeks, and of course we hung out. But I'm going back to my life in Los Angeles, and he took me to the airport, very gentlemanly, and when I got back to Los Angeles, he called to make sure I got home okay, and I said yes, and he goes, were you serious about me coming to visit you? Because of course I'm like, come visit me in Los Angeles, and of course you can visit. I said, oh, yes. I mean, you have to remember at this point, I'm like 43 years old. I've kind of been down this path before. And he said, go look at the computer. And on the computer, there was a ticket, a plane ticket he had purchased, and he was out a week later. So he pursued me, which I loved, and he came out to Los Angeles every 10 days, or I came to Erie, and he always booked a ticket before he left to make me feel safe, to know that he was coming back. So these are men, if you're listening, women do like to be pursued. So that was very juicy.
Well, then we ran out of money and we had to get married.
Right, so we had to basically decide which way are we going. So he whisked me back to Erie. But we did get picked up, our love story, which was very exciting. Again, finding love at your high school reunion. I hear so many people saying, I'm not going to go to my reunion, and all those people. You know, one of my nuggets is being open. So if you see on the screen right now in Lifetime magazine, called I Found Love at My High School Reunion, and then if you see the picture there, does it say, if you open up the magazine?
I don't have, I've got the article.
Yeah, the article, because this says it all, Beauty and the Geek. The self-proclaimed geek. And actually that whole story does talk more about my struggle for finding love and the work that I did, and basically the surrender. And
well, that was a lot of fun because Lifetime didn't skimp. I remember they set out a professional photographer with lighting and three or four locations.
That was my 15 minutes of fame, living in Los Angeles and having like the lighting and the makeup and the whole bit.
It was really weird though for the guy from Erie. I'm like, wow. Lights,
welcome
camera.
to my world,
exactly.
to my LA world, before you take me back to Erie, Pennsylvania. One more little nugget that I want to share, though, that's in the article that to me is very profound. So when I came back to Erie the day of the reunion, I went to go visit the cemetery, have a little conversation with my dad, as I would when I would come home to Erie, and having this conversation with my father and saying, you know, Dad, God, angels, whatever's up there or around me, you know, I'm okay now. I've been in therapy. I'm okay by myself. I travel by myself the world. I take myself out to dinner. I'm okay. I'm okay if I'm supposed to be alone. But if you could just help me let go of this want and this need, just help me to surrender it so that I could just kind of move on. And then it was that night that I met Phil. Now, I didn't think that. I didn't say, woohoo. But it was a couple of months later when I looked at my journal notes. So again, it's all about hope. So I'm going to throw you off for a second because
hold that thought. The irony of that is that you told your dad you were okay with being alone if that's the way it was going to be. And then we got married, and now you're like, hey, don't you have to go play golf?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Now that I want a little more alone time. So that's what keeps us going. The secret sauce is laughter. So if you had one secret or one lesson that you feel like keeps us connected, what would you say it is?
Well, two.
Okay.
I have two.
All right.
The first one, to put this in a chronological order, was on our first date in Los Angeles. We went to this. Heidi said, where do you want to go? And I said, I really want to go to one of those places you see on the TV shows that overlooks Los Angeles at night. And you wouldn't believe the scary hill you have to drive up to get to this place. And of all things, it was a Japanese restaurant. Me, Japanese food. Really big Japanese food guy back in 2003. But anyways, we got through it. I learned how to use chopsticks that night. But the most amazing thing that happened that night was Heidi was the first person that ever asked me about my dad. And my dad passed away when I was 9, and she was the first person that ever asked me who stepped in. She realized that there was an issue for me. Well, nobody stepped in. That's just the way it was. And that, to me, was a big moment when I realized what a lovely person you are. And that question really sucked me in. Second thing is, besides all the fun stuff you make us do in the summer, you know, kind of flash mobs and all that stuff. I'm not actually in the dance room. Somebody has to film this stuff. But the reality is, of all the fun things we do, we both like so many of the same things. Going out to dinner, we like the same music for the most part, because I know you love 60s music like I do. But the big thing is, one of the biggest things that every couple struggles with is finances. And I know this is a boring subject, but I love the fact that every Sunday we have a business meeting. And half an hour long, we go over the accounts, what's due, what's not. And since that time, 6 years now, I think we've been doing it, Not one argument over money in this house. So there you go.
Well, that was going to be one of my secret sauce lessons.
Oh, sorry, I stole it.
Well, no, not that specific. And then we're going to have Renee come on, the expert. Is the courage to communicate. I mean, again, this is my background. I'm a communications expert, but so many times, and so many women, they don't speak the truth. They build up resentment. They don't say what they need. They hold on. So if anything else, I feel like we both have the courage to communicate, to say our truth, to say what we need, and to say how we can best support one another and keep our love alive. And that keeps it honest and real, because that's what Renee's book is all about, being real.
One other thing, too.
Yeah.
No, Heidi's so brilliant. She knows she's the boss in the relationship, but she lets me pretend like I'm the boss once in a while, and it's really awesome. But we all know the rule here.
Well, that's the rule that Renee will be sharing with you,
That's
too.
good.
So that's always the case. So anyway, we're going to take a little break, and I want to see if there's anybody on social media, if you have any questions. And then we're going to be bringing on Miss Renee.
All right. Am I dismissed?
Yes, you're dismissed. Thank you. Thank you. Guy from Erie. Yes.
My
So we'll do a
pleasure.
little commercial, and then we'll bring Miss Renee on.
Life is about changes. The home that was so perfect yesterday suddenly seems too big, and the thought of moving may seem overwhelming. Perhaps your parents are still in the family home, but need help downsizing, and you live across the country. Or worse yet, a loved one has passed on, and you are faced with clearing out the estate and prepping the house for sale. Simple Solutions for Living, a locally owned and operated business in Erie, Pennsylvania, is here to help make the transition to a different living situation. We handle it all, from beginning to end, with hands-on help. So all you have to do is walk in the door of your new home and enjoy. Contact Senior Move Manager Marion Taylor at Simple Solutions for Living to schedule a wow consultation to work on whatever it takes to get the job done. Call 814-449-5309 or visit simplesolutionsforliving.com.
So I would like to set up Renee Piane, and so Renee calls herself the love designer.
Let's make sure we have Renee.
Can we hear you, Renee?
Hi.
Hi. Good. So she's there. So I just want to set her up again for people if they're just tuning in. So Renee Piane
Okay.
calls
But
her.
do you want me to talk over the phone or over the internet? I can't.
Phone.
The phone. So you can turn
Okay,
off the
I'm
internet,
gonna-
right? So I'm doing your little bio. So
Thank you.
Renee, if you can't tell yet, actually Renee is also a good friend of mine. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. Renee calls herself the love designer. She lives in Los Angeles, California, and she has been helping women and men for over 28 years in finding true love. And she's written 2 books, Get Real About Love, Love Mechanics. She's also an inspirational speaker. She's a TV hospitality. She's been on television and interviews. I mean, she's amazing. And I have to say, the first time I met Renee, probably about 30 years ago, Renee, I didn't tell you I was going to bring this up. The first time, I'm brand new in Los Angeles, and Renee's mission has always been to spread love. And she was literally dressed up like an angel, right, Renee? You used to dress like an angel and run around
Yeah.
Los Angeles and spread love. So everybody thinks I'm dramatic. I'm bringing you a little dramatic. So Renee, tell us just a little bit about your background. Welcome. We're so glad you're here to talk to us about love. So give us a little bit of your background.
Well, first of all, so happy to be here with you 2 lovebirds, and I know that love is really a touchy subject, and I know both of us. I just want to say, this isn't just a job for me. This isn't just a job for me. This is my life mission, as you know, to connect people, but more importantly, to help people to look at their patterns, right? And me and you had our patterns of being workaholics, and when we met, it was like an instant magical connection. And we had the same sort of patterns where we wanted to rule the world and we wanted to help so many people. You with marketing and branding, and me with basically the same thing, but for love, right? Helping people to package themselves well, helping people to look better and feel better about themselves, and then literally giving them a space to bring them to so that they can meet people. So I just love doing what I do. But at that time, just like I was listening to your love story, you were a single woman working, you know, and anybody out there, if you have never worked with Heidi and you're watching her for the first time, she was the master networking queen of California when she got here. She kicked it, and she put so many people together in that market, and then I was putting people together in the love market. So we were a good match.
We were a great match, and actually, many of you that do know me, I talk about, and I often host mastermind groups, and Renee and I have been in a mind group together. We called ourselves the Goddesses. We continue to support one another. We were all in the speaking field with different topics. And again, it's all about helping each other. But tell us a little bit, Renee, about your love story, because you found love also later in life. And I like to say, teasingly, you got married after me, because again, so many of our women in our circle, I call it masculine energy. We were out there in Los Angeles. It's a competitive world out there. We were all single at the time. And you tell us how you manifested your man and some of the things that you did personally to have that happen.
Well, first of all, I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We're here.
I know you went silent there for a minute. I get the question, and I'll give you some answers here.
Good.
Well, first of all, when I moved to Los Angeles, this is one of the biggest challenges now with the internet being the way that it was, is now people aren't going out to connect. And even back then, when there wasn't the internet, I became that person to bring people together and then started to teach classes. But during that time, I was so much striving to build my business that I did not make love a priority, just like you didn't. So we would have fun with dating and stuff, but we really weren't. When we met, we were like having so much fun being the successful women that we were, but that was a male-dominated energy to men. When I met men, when I pioneered rapid dating back in 2000, when I was teaching love mechanics classes at the Learning Annex to teach men how to understand women, men weren't intimidated. They were intimidated by me. They were intimidated by you. And that was because I always looked busy. So in today's world, it's no different. It's just we're busy with different things. We're busy on our phones. We're busy on our computers. We're busy on Instagram. So at that time, the way that I met my husband, unfortunately for me, and it's kind of a cool story, the East Coast, I'm from the East just like you are originally, and I met my sweetheart like you did back in the day. I met him in my 20s at a wedding that I had done the bride's hair, and it was her cousin, and he came walking through the line, and I saw him, and I thought, oh, who is that gorgeous hunk? I shook his hand, and I proclaimed, I'm going to marry this guy someday. I'm going to marry him. And then I moved to Los Angeles shortly thereafter. And the unfortunate thing is that I got so busy running my company that I just kept myself racing and racing until my mother died in 2002, 20 years later of being a workaholic and somewhat of a masculine woman. Even though I'm very feminine looking, I was scared to fall in love deeply because I didn't want anybody taking control of me. Do you understand what I mean, Heidi? Did you have that?
Yes, absolutely. And the thing that you're saying, too, that I'm resonating, and when I work with so many women, as you know, we do have that, we call it the busy disease. And, there's men all around. I know you always say, people say there aren't men around. There are men around. So that busy disease and being in that masculine mode, even though we looked feminine on the outside, and being in control and being scared, absolutely.
Well, I call it in my book, Get Real About Love, the one-size syndrome. Before it was when the internet came in 2001 or 2000, it was once I build my website, once I get my book done, my love mechanics book, once I finish painting my apartment, I always had love into the future. And I find from speaking to women all over the country and different conferences that right now the busyness of people is stopping them from finding love. And I always ask them, like people used to ask me, would you want to marry yourself right now? Would you really have time to even marry somebody, even if you wanted to? Because women come to me with their hearts all open like they do to you in your business thing, right? And maybe rocking it in their business, but then they're alone. Isn't that what you find?
Absolutely. And all these women are, and even here in Erie, and a lot of my women who are in my diva groups, they're like, I've just given up and I have a broken heart, and they've just given up. And like you and I, we were in this group and we were all in our 40s and we wanted it, but we didn't know what to do. So that's, I'm wondering, because we have a couple different groups of women who are probably listening right now. What do you see some of the mistakes? I think in your book, or you have the 3 mistakes that you see single women doing a lot, or maybe give them some advice or some tips. What can they do to help them get back in the dating world or feel better about themselves? Or what would some of your suggestions be?
Okay, number one, when a woman is wanting to get back in the dating game, like half of the people in the world are divorced or they're breaking up. So I always say in my work, people are either breaking up, they're shaken up by a relationship that's not working, and they're with somebody that's like a dead-end street, or they may be in a marriage that's getting ready to end, and they're kind of like wondering, how do I get out of it, or should I get out of it? Or they're afraid, and they're not really looking at the road ahead. And a lot of them stay because they're afraid to be single. So I think maybe some of your women may be in that one of those 3. So what I always do in my work about getting real is to take a good look, make an appointment with your own heart to get real with yourself. And in my work, I make women buy a heart and vow to themselves that they're going to be honest. It's about honesty. It's about getting real with yourself. It's about looking at yourself and saying, am I really happy with my life the way that it is, right? And at the end of the day, am I totally fulfilled, or am I just feeling the sadness from my last relationship? So most people that have that wall that you're talking about, that guard, it's usually that they're with somebody that they're unfulfilled with, and they're afraid to leave and scared because they hear from their friends, the men are terrible, dating is horrible. It's their attitude that causes them to doubt themselves. And then they're too afraid to move forward. So you have to be honest with yourself as number one. We did it, right? Yeah. We did it.
I love the heart thing. I forgot about that. And knowing you're like me, we like our props.
You can see the heart. If anybody ever calls me for a session, I do sessions over Skype. I have this beautiful pyrolite heart, and all over my house I have hearts, because your heart knows the truth, whether you're happy or not. And in my work, I make people look at where they are and possibly where the men that they've dated in the past, like the passengers that they're still whining. And like people will say to me, oh my God, I don't know if I can trust men. And I said, well, when was your last relationship? 5 years ago. I'm like, so you've waited 5 years to get over this person? Or they might be sleeping with a guy that they know isn't right. I call them temps in my book. And they have somebody taking up the little space that they might have to date, and then they fill the space. And we used to have those space fillers, right, when we were single, because we were busy. We was like, I'll date this guy until the right guy comes along. And then 4 years go by, and you're hanging out with a guy that's not going to lead anywhere. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that women make. But for the married women, the women that feel like crusty and they don't feel like there's passion anymore, that's like a whole other, lane that we can talk about next.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Does that help you? I mean, you get it. How many of your women in your group, ladies out there, please send me some questions. Like, are you in a situation? Are you married? What do you want to know? Because now that I'm like Heidi, I got married at 45 years old. I have been married for 13 years, so do the math, right? And I love my husband. We're very, very happy, but we're both busy people, just like Heidi and Phil are. Doesn't Heidi and Phil sound like a TV show? Heidi and Phil.
Yes.
Heidi and Phil.
That's what we're manifesting this.
Yeah, you should. But the thing is, Joe and I feel the same, and we love you guys because we're both kind of on that same path of helping people in our lives and busy all the time. And we have to carve out sacred time for our relationship to keep it spicy and sacred. And that's going to be my next book. But you got to get real, ladies. Men follow our lead. They follow our vibe, our energy, our voice, our touch. So there's 3 things that I suggest for keeping marriage spicy.
Well, you've got,
and
there's so many nuggets in there. I mean, we could go in 100 different directions. One thing, too, I love in the marriage, if we jump to that for a moment, I know for me, Phil and I, no matter what, we have a date night on Saturday nights. So we don't make plans with other people, and we dress up for date night. So, and sometimes it's like,
I
oh, do
love
we really
that.
feel like it? Or, sometimes I just want to sit on the couch. It's like, you know what? It shifts your energy. And this is all the stuff, Renee, that back in the day, and we learned from Pat Allen, and it's kind of like switching your energy, switching even how you dress, and being in your feminine. And it gets you out of your masculine head. And then we'll sit with candlelight and have dinner and just take that time out and make that. It's making a commitment to reconnect. I talk to so many married women and they're like, a date night? What? We don't have time. It takes effort to make that time. But I agree. It's very important to reconnect.
Well, when you get busy, you always have the excuses that you want to finish something. There's always going to be work. I don't care what kind of field you're in. If you're an accountant or a lawyer, there's always going to be work. You have to have a cut. Every day, Joe and I have a cutoff where we stop work and then we switch energy frequencies to like let go of the day. And that is one of the things that I teach in my rituals for women. We multitask and can do 50,000 things and juggle them all. And I know my mind is always really full at the end of the day. So I just write everything down so that I can put it aside and then shower and scrub off all the day. I work with people all day with broken hearts, people that are going through relationship challenges. And sometimes, I feel the pain of these people because I went through it myself. And that's why I feel that women like us that have been through the ups and downs of the dating world, we can really tell people advice that's really going to get them to the next level. And when women are single, they get really sad, and sometimes they just don't go out. So whether it's a date night with your husband or a date night with yourself to go out and make new energy to meet people, you have to carve out time for love, whether you're single or married or in between. You have to carve out that space and take time for love in your life.
And so, again, and I know we're swinging a little bit between the marriage piece and then back to the singles. And you said something the other day when we were chatting on the phone for singles, that so many single women, and again, I know a lot of the women here in Erie, even in their divas, they're not even going out. And you were making a comment about where are men, because that's what they say. There's no men any here, and I don't want to be on the internet. Where are the men, and how can these women show up, and what would it look like to shift their attitude or be in their quote unquote feminine? And where are these men? Where are they hanging out that single women can meet them?
Okay. Well, first of all, ladies out there, I don't know about you, but this is one of my practices at my work. And when I was single, I did this. I used to get a lot of my clients work at home. They're entrepreneurs. They're in their sweatpants. They, come from the gym, they sit home all day in their sweatpants, and they just don't feel like going out, right? So when I was single, I used to get dressed up as if that day I could meet my husband anywhere I went. Whether I was in my workout clothes, I put a little lipstick on, I looked cute in my workout clothes, so that if I went to the gym and then stopped at the grocery store where there was a lot of men, or wherever I went, I would look cute in case I ran into somebody. And most people don't do that. They don't plan ahead. That's number one. So this is a true story. I want to tell you this great story. I went to a conference. It was with Marsh Engel. I think you know her.
Yep.
And there was 100 women. And this woman goes, "You're the love guru talking about how to find love." She goes, "I'm done with men." And I asked her what she did. She was a marketing executive, 58 years old, very cute, was very angry from a past relationship. And she goes, "I don't believe in love. I'm done with men." So watch what you say to yourself and what you tell people in your life about your love life. Because guess what? All women, whether you're in groups or in masterminds, we're behind back on poor Renee. She's given up on love. She's stuck on that jerk, Mario, who I was stuck on for 3 years, whining over this guy when she could be having fun, right? So if you're in a negative mindset, no matter where you go, if you were out, you wouldn't see a man. You wouldn't look for an opportunity walking your dog going and get gas, going to the post office, going to the grocery store. I meet men everywhere I go. And ladies, I want to tell you this one tip. I was at the grocery store. This was a few months ago. I posted it on Facebook, and I go, women, you want to know where men are at 7 p.m. every night? They're in Whole Foods, grocery stores. They are going to really healthy takeout dinners, and they're there alone. I went and I got my phone and went down every aisle of the grocery store and showed how many single men were in the grocery store. I could not even believe it. I said, this is where you ought to be, ladies. They all had one single basket with a steak or a piece of fish, some vegetables, or frozen food. You can tell the bachelors that were healthy and the ones that wanted fast fix, right? So I would always, when I was single, I would go up and say, wow, you're a healthy eater. Go right in line, you know. But most women do not change their patterns if they're in a funk. If you're in a funk, you have to get up, get dressed as if you were about to go do a networking. Like if you're going to a networking event every day, even if it's just a nice pair of slacks and a cute shirt, and then get up in the middle of the day and take a break and go to lunch somewhere nearby. Your perfect partner could be out having lunch. They could be out at happy hour. They could be walking their dog. But if your butt is in your kitchen or in your office, sitting in your sweatpants, you're not going anywhere. So you got to get up out of your seat and go change your daily patterns of what you're doing right now into 2 or 3 days a week doing something different.
Well, you know what, that reminds me even of just regular networking. So I love that tip, and it's a good reminder for all of us. And I know too, so even if you're not quote unquote looking or to be approached, just being present, I feel like so many women do. They work out of their homes, and I had a client today that's like, do you always get dressed like that when you go out? I'm like, yes. And sometimes I don't always feel like it. And Phil will often say to me, say I'm going to the mall, and he's like, you're going to the mall like that? I'm like, well, I'm just going to the mall. And he's like, no, you're the queen. So he has to remind me. And I'm like, you're right, I'm the queen. So I'm not interested in meeting men, but I might say people I know. I run a networking group here in town. So that's a good reminder, Renee, all the way around. Another thing that's reminding me of is Renee and I both, there was a guru, and she's probably still doing it, Dr. Pat Allen in Los Angeles, who she would have all of these workshops that all of these women would be attending to give them some insight into how to meet men. And one was how to flirt. And when you were like kind of a, as we would say, masculine woman, we didn't want to flirt with men. It felt uncomfortable. They should just approach us. But I wonder, I know you have some techniques on that, and you know how I know.
I love teaching flirting.
I know you do, because I want to say also, part of our past, Renee used to have these flirting classes, and she would bring all these men in, and there would be a panel of women, and guess who was one of the women? That she would, all these like little shy, like little lovely, nerdy men would come, remember? And then you would teach them how to approach us, these women, but it was so beautiful. They were so vulnerable and scared. And to talk a little bit about, men's vulnerability and rejection, and how can we make them feel safe through flirting and the eyes and all that stuff.
Well, this is one of my favorite subjects because women make it difficult. And now with this whole Me Too thing, men are scared to death. I work for an international company with thousands of men that listen to my advice every week. And I always tell them, women are expecting you to approach. Women are expecting you to say hello. They're scared to death. And they have, all men and all women, we all have this little boy and little girl inside of us that's afraid to put ourselves out there. But just like anything else, it's the same with you with marketing, right? You are now every day marketing and branding yourself. Everyone's looking at everybody, but nobody is saying anything. And you have to learn how to speak to a stranger, whether you're going networking or you're going out to meet potential people. So what I say is use my, quote, flirt with life technique. So this week, ladies, if you are brave enough, and you can do it with your husband too, when was the last time you went over to him and said, God, I can't wait to get a load of you tonight? And he'll be like, wow, she hasn't approached me.
That was last night.
Yeah, baby, come on. I tease my husband all the time. I touch him. Mm-hmm. But it's all about this. I want to get back to flirting first. When you never know where you are, who's watching you. Like if you're at a networking event or a cocktail mixer, you go to meetups to meet people, or you're even at a convention. I was at a convention this last week for 3 days, and people were even shy to talk to each other there. They were there for a common purpose, to learn marketing, and people weren't even saying hello because they were so entranced in the work that we were doing there. But there was breaks. The only time you could meet somebody was walking down the hall. So I was saying hello to strangers. Hello, good morning. Who are you? What are you here for? Everywhere you go, just a kind word by saying, wow, you look nice today, to a gentleman, or a smile or a glance from across the room. Now, Pat Allen used to say, stare at him for 3 seconds.
And smile. She would say smile.
And then wait.
I saw that.
Say, you can wave from across the room. They are more frightened than ever to talk to us anymore because of all this sexual stuff that's going on with the Me Too movement. I say it's up to us to guide them with our feminine energy by smiling, walking by, going up at a bar. If you're at a happy hour, stand next to a man that's getting a drink and say, are you having fun? There's nothing wrong with test driving your skills. And I have so many techniques that people don't use because they're so scared. But that's why if you go out every day, like within a mile of your house to do your errands or whatever, looking at people that are in your space, you can meet people in your neighborhood and then build rapport with people at coffee shops, at library, at meetups, and most people just sit home and do the same thing over and over and over. They don't break their pattern.
Well, I think, what you're saying, too, is that, again, it's kind of because last week we talked about networking etiquette, and I love that you're kind of double dipping. It's the same thing that I teach people in networking. Be approachable, smile. It goes back to what I believe you were saying in the beginning. We're all so busy, and we're all in our heads walking around that we're not noticing what's around us. And
I know.
I do love that Pat Allen, because I don't know if you remember, Renee, that I used to run the Athletic Singles Association, which in Los Angeles.
That's right. You did that too. I did the rapid dating.
I know.
So the athletic thing. Yeah.
I know. But again, so I've always loved matchmaking and teaching women flirting techniques. And I would take a bunch of women, and I know you've done things like this too, like out to a bar, and it's like, look at the guy that you think's might be interested, and do the Pat Allen smile. And it feels vulnerable, though, to smile. And I think that's why women are scared. But whenever I saw these women, I tested it over and over again, and I would literally count them, like, smile, keep smiling, you're doing a good job, Sally, smile. And they would smile. They're saying they're approachable, and the men would come over and say hello. So there's a lot of dynamics there. And women who are single, I hope you're hearing some of these tips that Renee's giving you, that you've got to be open, you've got to be approachable, you've got to look the part, be in your feminine energy. I want to touch on too, Renee, you've touched on it a little bit. There's a lot of women out there right now that are going through, a fiance broke up with them right away, or they're going through a bitter divorce, and they're just angry, and they might be saying, I can't have a good attitude. And how do you help them heal that heart and to get back out there? And what do they need to do to heal so they can have faith that there is love out there for them at whatever age they are? Do you have suggestions for kind of the gals that are really having a struggle right now?
Yes, I do. That's my most favorite work, even though it's one of the most difficult things for people to go through a heart healing. And my book, Get Real About Love, The Secrets to Opening Your Heart and Finding True Love, helps take people through a process to look at themselves. Because you can blame men all you want, but some of the patterns that were created in your, as you know, as a therapist, right? You get installed with imprints from grandmoms or moms or critical teachers or boyfriends that told you, my imprint was that men pick the other girl to marry, that I prepare them for love, but I'm not the one they choose. Does that make sense? That was one of my big beliefs, that men didn't choose me, because I saw divorce and infidelity in my lineage. So my book takes people through a very deep dive into their family lineage and the way that they were all wired so that you can see why you created the situation over and over again. So a lot of people will read books on how to date, but if you have one part of you that's gone, screw men, I'm done, like that woman I was telling you about, or you have the other part that's going, God, I would love to find somebody, but you have 50% of you that doesn't believe that you deserve love, you will meet half unavailable men that are a reflection of who you are. So most of these women will say, well, I'm taking a break, and then they'll meet a bad boy, right? They'll meet somebody to fill the void. They'll meet somebody to fill the void.
Yes.
And that void sometimes can last 3 or 4 years. And then they're 43, 45, 46.
Like 50. We were. Right.
Like we were.
Right.
So right before I met my husband, I decided that because I was busy people sometimes make judgments and quick decisions about love because they're lonely, right? So if you're lonely, you have to heal that lonely part, because the little girl in you will make you jump in bed with somebody that you know isn't right, and then you'll get attached, and then you're in a loop. I call it a love loop. So I help people examine that, and I have these sessions where they read the book and they're going, oh my God, you told your whole story and admitted that you did all this stuff? I said, yes, I did. Because I want people to know, like you and I, we're no different than anyone listening to this, right? We want people to have love, and our passion for it is so strong, because once you find real love, that's what we've all been really searching for. So once you get it clear with your vision, and then you can tame that little part of you that sabotages you, you'll be able to manifest anything. Business, love, success.
Money, homes, yes.
Money, money. People have the same imprint with money. They have the same imprint with pain, with a broken heart. So when I faced my wiring was really screwed up, Heidi. I had some family members, grandmothers, aunts, cousins, all divorced, and I was just a little girl watching them all struggle to make money, and I thought, I am never getting married. I'm going to get my own money.
Yep.
I'm going to be successful. I'm not going to let anybody control me. That was my mantra. That's not a good mantra when you're 7.
But we,
No.
Well, it's healing the little girl, but I think it's also, we both know that we've had to do the personal growth work and the spiritual work and the cognitive work to look at ourselves, and that we both, when we found love, that we were in a strong place. So only because of our time, I have two questions that I'm curious with in our kind of coming to a close here. What's the one request or complaint that you hear from men about women?
The biggest request and complaint that I hear about men, that women are unapproachable. They have a vibe that is sensitive, and they don't give men a chance. Like a good guy, there's so many men out there that are a little shy. Like women always say, well, I want to meet a guy that's successful. I want to meet a guy with confidence. I want to meet a guy that has his game on. And sometimes those guys are the biggest players because they just go after one woman after another. When a man is very respectful of you and he's listening, give guys a chance, open yourself up and be in, or this is what I love to say too. A lot of men, they don't know where to go to meet women either. They're loners kind of, and they're kind of scared. That's why they need somebody like me, if men are listening, to make them wake up that women are expecting them to be a prince, right? So most of these guys haven't had prince training, and I've been doing that since 1992. And frankly, Heidi, the women make it difficult for most men. They're ball busters.
I know. Well, that's just it.
They want to test a man so many times that a guy just loses interest, because often these women just make them go through gauntlets.
And, to be right. So I think it's important, and kind of wrapping this piece up, is that it's reminding me again of all these conversations we've had and what we've gone through and I think it was Pat Allen that coined the phrase, what is it, duty dating? Remember she used to say, so to say yes to these men, sometimes these women are so judgmental. They're like, oh, they don't like their shoes. We all, women have things with our shoes. Well, we can change. Phil will tell you, we can change their shoes. We can give them Prince training. If he has a good heart, we can change. That's what Renee used to do. She started out with all these men that were kind of geeky, and she would spruce them up, take them shopping, teach them etiquette, and they would become princes. You know, they just don't know.
The men that I've helped, I mean, years later I run into them and they're happily married with kids. But listen, ladies, any man that is over 50 hasn't had skills from his 50s mom. He had an old school mom, maybe a gentleman and all that. But he doesn't have, like, he's not like a movie star going to come and sweep you off your feet. You have to give men a break, you know, give men a break. Give them a chance. Go out with them 2 or 3 times before you make a judgment.
Yes, go out with them and give yourself a chance,
and do a lot of dating. When I was the first person to run speed dating called rapid dating in America. I did events for 500,000 people all over the country in different cities. And I saw people that you would never think you would be attracted to become attracted to each other because of an open heart. They were having fun in the moment, and people would be attracted to each other because they just took a chance. So I say take chances, put yourself out there with your most beautiful things that you like to wear, whether they're casual clothes or not, and do it like that woman that I was telling you, that true story. She came and took my seminar, a 5-week seminar called Get Ready for Love, and she went to help her neighbor move into an apartment in a wheelchair. And I said, you can meet your husband any day, anytime. Make sure you wear a lipstick. So that day she got dressed up in a cute workout outfit, put some lipstick on, and the guy knocks on the manager's door, and this gorgeous man answers the door, and that became her husband.
I love
That became her husband. He was so taken that she had taken this older woman who he thought was her mother to go move into an apartment, that he was so touched by her kindness. And he told the little old lady, he goes, is that your daughter? She said, no, but she's single, and you better ask her out. He asked her out. He was so nervous, she said. He was shaking when he asked her out because he was rusty in the dating game.
And many of these men are. So listen, Renee, we're going to have to wrap up. So I want to make sure, because you do all these things, if you can tell people if they want a session with you, you work via Skype, Zoom, over the phone. You've got your books that are wonderful, that are available. And I'm hoping at some point that we set up like a 3-hour workshop, whether it's here in Erie or teleseminar or something, because there's so many areas to go in. This is just the tips. But what's the best and easiest way to get a hold of you? Would you give that information before we close out?
People can call me. I will offer the first 10 people that call me, they can call me at 310-827-1100 or email me. They can go contact Renee at Renee Piane. It's ReneePiane. Look on my coaching page. I have a special where people can get me for 2 hours. They buy the book, and I will give them a love evaluation or tune-up, whether they're married, single, or in a situation, right? And then they can they'll get a copy of the book, or they can order the book online and call me for a session as well. So my sessions are really reasonable. My classes, I have online classes coming up, and also privates are really the best. And then maybe we can create a night where we can do a love tune-up on all of these women and give them steps.
I would love that.
These are just like, because it's hard because we got the married women, the single women who are angry. I think those are the ones that call me the most. I mean, I get people calling me every day. He dumped me now. What do I do? You have to learn the lesson. Most people marry people that they knew were wrong. You know, most people they already know what it was, but they're afraid to face it and get real. So
get real about love, everybody. I'm going to put
Get Real About Love online and buy it if you don't do anything else. And if you're really serious about finding love, keeping love, or getting back in the game, then just check out my coaching page at reneepiane.com under coaching, and you'll see testimonials and the offers down at the bottom, and I also give free gifts away too.
And Renee, I'm going to put all this information too. I'm going to put it all under our link so that people can find it. And we're going to have to wrap up. So I want to say thank you, and I love you. Thank you for being on the call and for giving so many women hope, tools, and tips. Oh, Phil has something to say. Hold on.
Guys, just don't give up on love. There's so many wonderful men that are out there, and if you just open your heart, and give the love that you want to receive, and stop being so hard on yourself. That is the biggest lesson, is being hard on yourself and being gentle with your heart as you go into the world of love and marriage.
Thank you. Hold on. Did you have a question?
Thank you,
All right,
Heidi.
Renee, we'll talk to you later. Okay, darling. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Is it okay if I put, okay, bye. Thank you for this. Bye.
Thank you. Were you going to say something, darling?
No, the only thing we didn't get to do was show a picture of Renee and Joe.
Oh, yes.
We can throw that up there.
There they are.
And then
Look, talk about a handsome couple.
Yeah, Joe's quite the movie star. Really nice guy, too.
Really
Joe's
nice.
a great guy.
So I could continue. I mean, obviously, this conversation goes on. And again, it was a perfect opportunity for us on our love night. Now we're going to go out for a little bite to eat and celebrate. I hope that you were inspired and to remember that there's always hope. Have your attitude in place. Be positive. Remember, Heidi Inspired is all about helping you live a more confident life. Next week, we're talking about time management. We have an expert who's going to be Lisa Malice, who's going to give us some time management strategies, because if you're asking the question, where does the time go, we'll let you know. So goodbye for now. Thanks for joining, and we'll put all of Renee's information up on a link so that you can get her book, Get Real About Love. We'll see you next time.